You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And again, thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Every recruiting segment here on the Locked On Network is brought to you by LinkedIn. Go to linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. And we are talking about one, Aljour Miles, a unrated wide receiver prospect out of Kaufman, Texas. Also plays edge there for them. An incredibly athletic 6'2", around 200-pound wide receiver. Oklahoma was the first to offer him. He's got 10 offers. Oklahoma is by far the biggest one. Next biggest would be Boston College or Pitt. But Emmett Jones likes what he sees, and he was at Sooners Under the Stars this past weekend, along with other 26 and 27 prospects. And Parker Thune, Brandon Drum, and Marshall Levinson, all of Rivals, issued a Rivals Futurecast favoring the Sooners in this recruitment. Jay, when you watched Mr. Miles, what did you see?
I saw a dude that knows how to go after the ball, right? I saw a ball hawk. So as you mentioned, he plays edge as well as playing wide receiver. And of course, Emmett Jones is looking at him at, okay, your quarterback's underthrowing you like crazy just because you're that much more athletic than everybody else in the field. It's like the quarterback doesn't realize they need to just throw the ball like as soon as he hikes it. It's like the Randy Moss, Randall Cunningham era, right? Randall Cunningham looks to the side, see Moss, who's matched up with, starts smiling. You see those big old braces. He hikes it and just throws it in the air, and Randy gets it. That's kind of what his quarterback needs to do because of how talented he is, right? He finds the ball at the high point. He jumps up and he catches it. He's almost a straight line runner because he's just that much more athletic than everybody else. And so playing edge, he knows that he needs to go after the ball and continue to hawk after it. Well, you're seeing that at wide receiver too. So as I mentioned, those passes that are underthrown, he's coming back for them or he's slowing down for them and he's shielding the defender off of them, basically boxing them out to make the catch. Man, I love seeing that because that means that he's going to go up for all contested passes and he's going to be somebody that's going to probably come down with the majority of them.
I saw a lot of toughness out of the kid too. There were several times where dudes were just draped all over them and he was dragging them for 5-10 yards like he was Derrick Henry. We talked about Derrick Henry in the last one. I mean, like these guys could not bring him down and he was literally dragging them on his back. And like that shows a lot of heart, a lot of toughness, a lot of physicality. I like his route running ability. I think it'll need some work, obviously, at the next level, but he just looks smooth in and out of his breaks. And it's, somebody who's got natural instincts for the position. So many times we look at wide receiver traits like speed. We look at wide receiver traits like the athleticism, but we don't look sometimes at some of the intricate things that are just natural to the position. A smoothness, a feel for how to get in and out of your cuts, a natural hands ability. Some of those things that get a little bit underrated because we highlight the speed and the athleticism so much at the position, whether it's NFL draft analysts or it's recruiting analysts, that we forget to look sometimes at the things that are kind of the major things that help you at wide receiver. I mean, there's a lot of not super fast wide receivers that make a lot of money in the NFL because they play the position so well. They do all the other things really, really well, despite not being quote unquote fast. This is a kid that he's got enough speed to be a downfield threat, but he's going to kill in the intermediate area of the field because he's so big, he's athletic, and he's physical, and he just has that natural feel for the position. I think he's going to be great as a blocker as well. And again, if Emmett Jones likes what he's seeing, I'm also a big fan of that because who's recruiting wide receiver better than Emmett Jones right now and developing wide receiver better than Emmett Jones right now?
Oh, as you know, I've been on the train and advocacy for Emmett Jones to get a raise just because of how great he's been since he's gotten here, right? Starting with the Andrell Anthony piece and then just going forward, everything's been amazing since we brought him in. And, you made a good point here, John, on, the intermediate play, right? I'm watching his film, his highlights. Of course, it's high school highlights. You're seeing the best of it, right? But it appears that not only does he find a way to get open into the smaller, in the little pockets in the middle of the field, he's going to find a way to get open. His cuts are definitive enough to where he's causing team defensive players to run into each other so he can get catches on fades. Like, that's little stuff that you really can't teach. That's just a natural ability to move your body in a way that defenders can't keep up with you, right? That makes them twist around in circles and fall. That's huge for the wide receiver position, right? And especially if he refines his route running to the point to where his body is so fluid that people are confused at which direction he's going to go, if he's going to cut, if he's going to go in, if he's going to go out. Makes him really, really hard to defend. So getting to those open pockets are big. And the other thing you mentioned that I love is the thought of him being a blocker, right? So playing edge, he knows how to shed blocks and get away and go be disruptive. If he's able to get underneath that jersey and push dudes back on the block, all it does is open up the run game, right? We saw that last season whenever our wide receivers got tougher on the block. Guess what happened? The run game was cooking. That's how it was cooking for like Eric Gray when he was here. That whole season, when he got his 1,000 yards, it's because the wide receivers were blocking. And so if we continue to do that, build up dudes that can block downfield and cause problems there, man, yeah, we want more dudes like that. So Miles, please pull up. We would love to have you out here blocking for us in 2026.
Yeah, so unrated right now, but I think he has the chance to be a 4-star by the time the cycle is over. As more teams and more analysts kind of get word on him and get some film on him, I really think he's got that potential because, again, you look at a guy that he could probably start for a lot of teams in college football as an edge rusher. I think right now he's being a little bit undervalued, maybe a little bit under-evaluated, but this is it's very much a Ryan Foje kind of recruitment. If you look back to Ryan Foje, Oklahoma was the first to offer him as well. And then by the time he committed in this past January, everybody was trying to get this kid. Everybody. And it would not surprise me if we look ahead to January of 2025 and we look at, Aljour Miles recruiting offer list, and it's all of a sudden 25 deep because Georgia's getting wind of him. He looks like a Georgia wide receiver too. A big, fast, physical dude. And so it's not going to be surprising. And I think I already saw maybe a Missouri offer came through over the last few days too, which Missouri is playing copycat offers with Oklahoma prospects at this moment. But no, just a really, really good looking kid. And he was, again, working with Emmett Jones this past week as a wide receiver. You can go to his social media and you can see just some of the drills that they were working through. I mean, just such a natural route runner. And he's going to get even more refined. Look at all the guys that had breakout years in 2023 under Emmett Jones. Drake Stoops, Nick Anderson, Jaden Gibson, Andrel Anthony, Jalil Farouk had his most productive season. I mean, you had 5 wide receivers all had their best year under Emmett Jones. And then the group is also being defined as the best position group on the team, arguably.
Easily. And it's all walked in there and said, I want to bring greatness to Oklahoma. He said he wanted to be here when he was younger. He got the opportunity and said he was not going to waste it. I love when that tweet recirculates a picture of him at a game when he was younger, and you can just see in his eyes of, I'm going to be on that sideline one day, and I'm going to be running things. And guess what he's doing? Running things.
He's running things, and he's bringing that ether as he said on the sideline during last season. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Also, go check out the Locked On Sooners Insider Program. You can text SEC 2024 right now to get your first 14 days free, but you can also get 25% off your first month by texting SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711. We're doing listener mailbags. We are answering your questions through the Locked On Sooners Insider Program by texting SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711. You can also just chat with us too. You just want to be a part of what we're doing day to day, talking football with us. You can do it right there too. A more direct line to Jay and myself. But follow Jay on Twitter at Unfair Sports, myself at John 9 Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all the social medias. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms. And again, thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Go check out Locked On SEC for your second listen of the day. It's also a great place to get SEC info. Chris Gordy is covering all the angles over there with Locked On SEC. And check out the Locked On Sports National 24/7 streaming channel over on YouTube and also available on the Amazon Fire TV when the free Fire TV channel is app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel's app. For Jay, I'm John Williams. We'll check you next time. Boomer!
Sooner.